SVG. What are they, and why aren't they used more? SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphics. What does that mean? Exactly what it sounds like. SVG are images made up of lines and curves that are defined mathematically. A normal image is constrained to its original resolution, so when the image is scaled up or down, quality is lost. Having a vector means the lines are actually formulas that tell the browser how to display the image. The formulas don't change when you scale a vector, so you can get the same high-quality lines at any size you want. SVG are written in XML and then translated by your browser to display the graphic. Where can I use SVG? SVG are ideal for any basic image or shape. This can include icons, logos, maps, graphs, and several other things. They can also be used for animation, which is pretty cool. I've linked a great example that uses animation in different events such as hovering and clicks. Let's take a look at the example. I have it linked right here. So, for example, if you are to click on the dice, this is basically just a board game. The die will roll, so it'll handle any click events, and this is all made with SVG. There's hover events, if you hover over any of the markers on the map. There's hover events for the trees, and everything's animated. So yeah, pretty cool what you can do with SVGs. What are the advantages of SVG? SVG are made up of XML code, so you can do anything you can normally do with code. That means you can search it, index it, script it, and compress it. You can even easily edit it with any text editor. SVG can scale to any size, so that means zooming in on an image is always clear. They can also be printed at high quality at any resolution, whereas printing a traditional image loses quality when you print it at something besides its original resolution. SVG are generally smaller in file size compared to other traditional images. They can also be used inline, and that means instead of having a separate file that holds your graphics, you can insert the XML code directly into your HTML file. This does two things for us. First, it allows you to fully control the look of the graphic with your CSS, which is really cool. Second, using inline SVG lowers the total HTTP requests. Instead of having two separate requests, one for the page and one for the image, you now have everything in one file, so you only need to make one request to the server. You can also create sprites with SVG. Sprites are one image that holds several inside of it. For example, let's say you had a page with 8 icons that needed to be displayed. You can go the normal route and create 8 different images and have 8 different requests to display them. Or you can create a sprite. That sprite will hold all 8 icons in one file, so you only have to make one request to get all the icons you need for that page. You can then use HTML to define what part or section of the image to display to the browser. SVG sprites differ from traditional sprites, however. While traditional sprites line up the images within itself, one after the other, SVG sprites display the images inside it on top of each other, each with their own unique defined layer. So all you have to do to display the correct icon is give that particular layer an ID, and you can call it whenever you want. Let's take a look at what SVG sprites actually look like. As you can see, creating a SVG sprite is very simple. First you create an SVG tag, and then you define each of the images in your sprite with a G tag and an ID for the layer. This is a very basic SVG, so there are no formulas, but within each G tag you would put whatever formulas you have to create the image. When this code is passed to the browser, it translates it into the image on the bottom right. As you can see, each of the layers are stacked on top of each other. If you wanted to call one of the images within it, you would have to reference that particular layer. What are the disadvantages of SVG? Compatibility is the major issue with SVG. SVG is not supported on Internet Explorer 8 or older, and Android 4.3 or older. The other main drawback of SVG is that it's made up of code and not a traditional image. Most people aren't comfortable with coding in general, so when they see something like SVG, and the extra complexity that comes with it, they usually fall back on what they know. SVG also can't make overly complex images since it draws based on lines. So why isn't it more widely used? It comes down to one thing: people aren't comfortable using SVG. We're so used to using traditional images and the workflow that comes with it that most people freak out at the sight of an SVG. As can be expected, people stick with what they know unless they're forced to do otherwise.